Hello everyone, it's Nikki and welcome to my my channel about cross stitch, and I'm going to just do a bit of an update on, I was going to do a 6 months update, but I've had a change of thinking about what I'm going to work on, so this is kind of more a change of plans and what my plans are for the next 6 months instead. It's taken quite a change. So there will be a kind of a mini review, but only of some things going forward. So hopefully it's going to be fairly interesting. There's a lot of my thoughts of what's going on with my stitching at the moment. The light's terrible today. I'm expecting some rain at some point, but it's really kind of quite muggy and humid, but I have the window open because it's a little slight bit of fresh air, so you can probably hear, you might hear traffic, you can probably hear the birds singing in the gardens. At least it's now the pretty songbirds singing. So, right, it's July now, and on my rotation as it was, that means I would be switching to Faces of Fairy for a couple of weeks. I am still stitching Faces of Fairy. I don't have her up here because I'm up in my craft room and she's downstairs in my downstairs stitching area. I'm going to record a stitch with me later, so she'll be updated on there, and I might do a little bit to stick on the end of this video just in case you don't want the update and stitch with me video, if you get what I mean. So things started changing because I finished Just to Be this year, and as I get to the finish lines with my pieces, I like to just focus on that piece mostly. And I always used to be a one at a time stitcher until I got into these big full coverage pieces, and then I slipped into the habit of, well, I just have a different start because I want to do something slightly different, or that's pretty, I want to stitch that. And I got into the bad habit, for me, of starting things on a whim just because I wanted to do it. I've said before, I don't enjoy particularly doing new starts because I don't enjoy the whole kitting up process. That's not something that really appeals to me in terms of stitching. I like the stitching. And really, in terms of liking the stitching, why in my head does it matter what I'm stitching on? Why do I want to keep moving around? Am I getting fed up with stitching the same colours? Possibly, but I always tend to pick things with the same colours because I like those colours, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm going to actually interrupt myself here and say there is no right or wrong way to stitch. The only way that is right to stitch is the way that is right for you. Everyone is different. Everyone has different things that they want to get out of their stitching. They have different levels of happiness of what they want to stitch. Full coverage isn't for everyone, samplers aren't for everyone, stitching on Ada isn't for everyone, stitching on linen isn't for everyone. It doesn't matter. You do you. Don't do what anyone else does. Just focus on what makes you happy. If you don't do that, you won't be happy with your stitching, and that's a shame, because ultimately this is something that makes us happy. So one of the things that I've worked out that I do is when I get stressed, that's when I tend to grab something new, and I'll find a really obscure reason of why I need to do that new thing, why in particular I need to do that and not something that I've already got started. Sometimes it's a really far-reaching, convoluted idea, but in that moment it makes sense, and that isn't necessarily the right way to deal with my stress. Because then I have several things started, and I feel bad that I'm not working on all of them. I start things because I really like them, and I really want to enjoy working on them, and I really want to see them finished up on my wall, and looking at all the memories that reliving all the memories that I've had while I've been working on that piece. So when I have so many pieces on the go, and this is kind of why my rotation keeps growing and growing and growing and getting more and more complicated, is because I want to work on everything. I want to do everything. And then I'm not happy anymore because there's so much I want to do and not enough time. While I'm working, there is not enough time to be able to do everything I want to do. So I've been having these feelings for a while. I've been messing with the rotation, adapting it, just so that I can get everything into that rotation. And then it becomes complicated, and then spending so much of my time putting things away, getting new things out. And that eats into stitching time, and that's not fun either. So, as I said before, in the past I used to be a one-at-a-time stitcher. Now a lot of that reason was because it was fairly hard to get hold of projects because we didn't really have any local cross-stitch stores and local needlework stores near me, so there wasn't so much temptation. If I wanted something, I had to send off for it. And in the days before internet, that usually involved filling out a form and posting it off to someone, and then in a month or so you'd get something back through the post. Happy Mail was a lot slower in the old days. We are so lucky now. And so I've kind of been almost wanting to go back to this, having fewer projects to work between. And what I've also been doing is deciding what I really want to stitch. What is it that's calling me to stitch it? So then I saw several posts on Facebook about this app called Stitch Pal, and you might have tried Brian Blitzstitch's wondrous spreadsheet of taking your data and giving you kind of an idea of how long something's going to take. Dangerous. It's wonderful. I struggled to get it working because I should know Excel a bit better, but it's a bit of a block for me. So I never really spent enough time really working out what I needed to fill in where. But I do keep numbers. I keep my numbers since I've been on Pattern Keeper, so for about the past 2 years, nearly 2 years, I've kept numbers of how many stitches I do each night. Pattern Keeper tells me, I write it down. I love pen and paper and stationery, that's a whole different craft. But I write it down and I keep records, and I put that into my own simplified spreadsheet of what I've done, so I can keep track of how many stitches I've done, how long something's taken me, because whenever you finish something, you can guarantee that one person at least, will always ask you, how long did that take? And then you think, I don't really know the answer. And sometimes you might not want to know the answer. I did. So I started noting these things down, keeping track. Again, it's a whole nother craft, and it doesn't take so long as cross stitch. So I saw this thing about this app called Stitch Pal. So I downloaded Stitch Pal. It is available on iOS and Android. Because I have both, that was a decision to make. But because Pattern Keeper is on Android, I put Stitch Pal on Android because when I finish with the night for Pattern Keeper, I go straight into Stitch Pal, put in my numbers for the day. Makes sense to have it on the same app. Well, on the same platform. But anyone iOS only out there, you can still use it. Be aware, it does make you rethink your stitching. It is a reality check. You put in your numbers. You click a little button and it tells you, I reckon you could finish, well, with your current stitch rate, the amount of time that since you started, all the data that you've put in, up to now, you're doing this many stitches a day. And when you swap around a lot like I do, it's not a lot, and it's really sad. So then there's another button you can say that just says, just tell me on days I stitched. And that gives you a bigger number, which is better. But then it makes you realise how long things are going to take. So you get one date for really how long since you started it, and how long it thinks you're going to take to finish it. And I have projects that, according to that, I'm not going to finish until 2038. And that made me it did make me a bit sad, because I really enjoy stitching on them and I want to see more progress than that. I want to get better progress than that. And then you look at how many days it thinks you're going to take if you just worked on that piece. And the numbers really come in so far. And there's some pieces that I could finish in a few years if I just worked on it, if I just stitched it. So that kind of the tipping point that made me rethink, what do I want to do? I enjoy the stitching journey, but am I the sort of person that only wants to travel on one piece at a time? No, I'm not doing one piece at a time. I am adapting and changing my stitching strategy, but there's only so far you can go. So, over the past, since COVID, and I've been working at home, which is absolutely brilliant, I love it. I'm not an office person. I really love working from home. I can get so much more done. What I have been doing even when I was at work to an extent, but obviously without the travelling backwards and forwards to work, there's more time available in a day. So my day's divided up into, around work. Morning stitching before work, which is usually one of my small pieces because that's the kind of time when I want to do slightly bigger stitches. It's the smalls, it's the tinies. And what I've been doing is I've been coming up into my craft room to stitch for that time, because usually we'd sit and would have the news on and I would do stitching by listening to the news. And really sometimes the news just winds you up. This constant loop of things happening and stuff. And what I decided to try was just coming into my craft room doing stitching. No TV on at all, just quiet time. And it set me up so much better for the day. So, been doing that. Then, on and off throughout this, I've been doing lunchtime stitching. Now, when I was at work in the office, I would do some lunchtime stitching every day I was in the office. And it kind of works out to about 45 minutes or so. And again, that was a nice break between morning is finished and it's kind of a mental calming, getting myself prepared and ready for the rest of the day. Especially when things are really busy. It's nice to kind of go somewhere else for a bit. In my own head, I can stitch. It's like a meditation. People that stitch know this. You're breathing with your needle and thread. your breathing adjusts to the movement of your needle and thread. And that's why I like stitching at lunchtimes. So throughout the pandemic, I've been doing stitching at lunchtimes, and that's been working for me. And then after work, I stitch. There is other stuff that happens, but basically my day is automatically divided into 3 stitching sessions. And that works, and actually it's a nice division of time and a nice division of projects. And so what I'm going to do is show you, I'm going to show you a different project now. So this is Black Cat Bookmark. It was a kit from Gecko Rouge, as you can see, it's nice and small. And as you can see, it's finished. Now, I started this in March, and it was when work was at its most stressful. We just had a project that we were just getting to the end of. Didn't go live until April, but it was frantic. You're kind of learning a new system yourself, you're trying to teach that new system to other people, you're testing that new system, you're ironing out the problems and coming up with solutions and the way you want things to work better, and it's just thinking. And I got this, and I just started it because I'd had enough of thinking. I just wanted to sew. So I started it in March, and I didn't do a great deal on it because it was just a whim start, as I like to start it. So I probably got to about here. Oops, sorry. And then in May, all the mania stuff was happening, and work was just beginning to calm down now. The project's in. There's still lots of niggles and teething problems and explaining things to people where they hadn't quite understood what we're doing. We're still going through that process, but things are calmer. Things are settling down. So I decided that I was going to do my own kind of mini mania thing, which was stitch on this for 1 hour every day. And I got quite a way through it. I didn't manage every day. There's some weekends that I just don't want to do this. I want to do something else instead. And doing that whole thing was too much. So I just cut it down to, this is my lunchtime stitch. And I'd stitch on it at lunchtimes and work on it then. And I finished this off in June. So I kind of got all the way through the cat, all the flowers done. And I thought, well, if I'm just spending like an hour, 45 minutes on it, I'm only gonna, if I'm lucky, I'm gonna get 100 stitches done a day. I was getting near 200 most days. That 1 hour, I power stitched. Now, I have no distractions when I'm stitching on that lunchtime stitch. I don't have the TV on. I don't have my phone near me. It is just an hour to spend stitching. And I got all that done. And again, I thought, if I can get that done in just that 1 hour, just focusing on one thing, it's good, isn't it? I can start things, I can finish things. So we had that. Now you've been looking at Death Head Moth, and that's what I was working on at work when in the old days when we went into the office at lunchtimes. I would sit and I would work on this. This is another kit by Gecko Rouge. It's the same artist, Lorna Lane, that did the Black Cat, Oh, Black Cat, that was stitched on 28 count magic guide. No, easy count. This is stitched on 25 count magic guide. So this kind of lived at work, and then we got told we're working from home, and I decided I'd bring it home with me just to keep it safe. And I didn't work on it for ages. Then I got it out and started stitching on it. And this page here, which I will be getting to soon, is the last full page. So it's nearly finished. Yeah, sorry, I was saying this Gecko Rouge kit, it's a Gold Club exclusive, so you have to be a member of their Gold Club in order to purchase it. Their Gold Club is you pay an amount each month, and then every 6 months you get a voucher for the amount you've put in, so you get all your money as a voucher that you can spend on sewing. It's great. It's like a savings thing. And you get a discount. It's brilliant. And you get you get access to exclusive kits like this one. So I've got a stash of kits building up. Again, it's the other thing that makes you want to start. Kits are so much easier to start. So I was working on this, been working on this. It will still fit into how I'm going to work, but that comes a bit later. So it would probably make sense for me to use this one as my lunchtime stitch. No, I'm not doing anything as sensible as that, am I? Oh, what I'm doing is this. It's Bizarre Bookshelf. Again, the Gecko Rouge kit. Colin Thompson is the artist. Here's a bookcase. Loads of books. Loads of little guppies and knits and stuff. It's huge. I don't have bars big enough to hold it. It's on 25 count, easy count. The bars aren't big enough, so I got it a Q-snap, and I made myself up a 17 by 8 Q-snap, so I can fit my page in it. So after my success, oh actually this is another stress start. I had this one in March. Husband had to go in for an operation on his eye, and I had to put eye drops in for him every couple of hours. It was madness. So I didn't go up into my craft room then, because I'd just be up and downstairs. So I started this. That was my excuse for starting this. And I got page 1 done. And I really like it. I was just working on it after those few weekends of that bother. I just worked on it whenever I had holiday from work or bank holidays or anything. Any time when I was off work, I would stitch this in the morning. And I got that done, and I really enjoy it. This one is so enjoyable to stitch. I could just stitch this one all the time, but it's my lunchtime stitch now. Obviously, I can't go back to the office with this. It's far too cumbersome. Fabric is huge. There's a box of threads that go with it as well. But so started page 2, and I had started page 2 and got some of the black done. So this bit and got black done, but then there's other colours coming in now, and that's basically what I've done this week. Again, I think there was only one day when I didn't get 200 stitches, but 170, and there's a lot of colour changing on that day. So I've gone back to working this one colour by colour on the page, and I got loads of stitches done yesterday. So this is going to be stitched every weekday lunchtime until, well, that's the plan. Every weekday lunchtime I want to stitch on this, and I don't have to think about what new things I want to stitch. I don't have to think, oh, what do I want to do now? I'm stitching this. And then I'm going to work it is I'm going to work across until I get to this side of the book shelf, the book cubby thingy. Let's go here. So I'm going to get to this bit here, And then I'm going to work the one underneath, because this line kind of divides it up straight and kind of goes all the way through. So I'm going to do it in columns, stacks of books. That's the plan. Because I'm on the key snap, I can do it that way. I can't fit it on the frame. Now, if I'd thought about it before I'd started, I would have done it on its side. I don't think I could handle doing my crosses differently. So I'd have to come at them slightly differently when you're doing it just a 90-degree turn. So that's not going to work. So that is my lunchtime stitch, and that's going to stay my lunchtime stitch. I also give something better to look at while I try and find what I was looking for. Oh, he's down to the side of me. This is my weekend morning stitch. So I'm going to be monogamish. I've divided up my time. My days are already divided up into these times. Morning stitch, lunchtime stitch, evening stitch, weekend morning stitch. This is my weekend morning stitch project. This is Nightmare, and what happened was I was happily stitching away in Jane Cowie. I got very, very bored of one of the borders. Looked at myself and thought, I want to do my sewing. I want to do full coverage. I've got all these kits and I want to do full coverage. And it just kept gnawing away at me. I came so close to starting another one. Because, well, I could have one that I stitch upstairs on the weekend mornings. And I was so close to starting. And then, like, but I've only done one page on Nightmare. And Nightmare's really fun, and I really, really like it. Let's find it. Got a picture somewhere. Here we go. It's another gecko kit. We've got a bit of a theme. This is Medusa Dollmaker. If you've seen my gamer, that's what I've stitched. I've stitched some of hers before. So you can see the zero and the snake and barrel up there. Jack and Sally. So morning, Sunday mornings. Stitching. I had done this one page. So I started page 2. I'm now on pattern keeper, so I'm now going across. I'm not following these edges. Background. But it goes so quickly. So I started this early June, doing this as page 2, early June, as my weekend morning project. And that's how far I've got. So I've got most of the page done. So it's going to stay as my weekend morning project. If things may start to be opening up, we are possibly going to go on a little mini city break at the end of July. I'm taking this. Again, it's on key snaps. It's travelable. It's a kit. I can take it with me. It's small. So this is my weekend morning. I want to get this page finished this month. I reckon that's easy. There is stitching done here already. White and white. Don't we love it? So, weekend morning project. Which leaves... What's the evening project? The evening project is going to be evening projects, because I'm close to finishing this one too. So I've decided that for the last week of every month I'm going to still do Death Head Moth. I should get this page finished this week. I think I might be able to get it finished by the end of the year. That's the plan. I'm not sure that I'm completely ready to embrace full evening monogamy. So what I'm doing is I'm spending most of my time on Faces of Fairy, because I had all the stitchy data for her. I had all the numbers from when I started. I put all those into Stitch Pal, and I could either finish her in 2022, at some point, or I could finish her next month. And that's what the stats show you. So you can either take ages to get it done, or you can just work on that, get your daily average, and get it finished fairly soon. So initially it told me I was going to finish it on, if I stuck with it, I would finish it on the 17th of August 2021. I put my first evening's totals in, and it suddenly decided it was going to be the 16th of August 2021. So I don't have an awful lot to do on it. So what I'm going to do is work on that for most of the month. So I was doing 2 weeks. Now it's going to be for every day except the last 7 days. Actually, last 8 days, because we're going away on one of those days. So for the majority of the month, I'm going to just stitch on Faces of Fairy. I'm going to see how far through I can get, and I'm going to see what date it thinks I can get it finished. And then once I've done that, last 7 days will be Death Head Moth. Now I also have the week off work at the end of the month, so in the mornings, holiday mornings, I'm going to continue doing Bizarre Bookshelf, so as I was before. So the bookshelf will on the whole get every weekday lunchtime, except when I have holidays from work, when I don't do any lunchtime stitching and I don't stitch on my smalls in the morning. I just kind of stitch as I would at a weekend, but instead of doing my weekend stitch of Nightmare, I'm going to do Bizarre Bookshelf, because it'd be nice just to get a few extra stitches into the average. And I might be on like filling in the little odds and bits and pieces of the single stitch colours here and there on that page. So kind of ambitious plans. I'm trying this. I'm just trying this just to see if it makes me feel better. I'm also trying it because I could have, well, definitely have one finish soon, possibly 2 finishes. And then I'd have to see how that feels. So do I want to spend just all evenings on one project, or is it still nice to divide it up and just have that break for 7 days just to work on something else, which will be working on something smaller, which I'll decide what I want to do when I get to that point. But if I don't like it, I can change it back. That's the whole point of this. It's just finding my happy space with it. And yeah, I think that's it. So that's kind of my update. It's where I am at the moment and my plans for the next couple of months. I mean, August is a good time to reevaluate what I'm doing. At the moment, I'm thinking that once I've done Faces of Fairy, I really want to get back onto Trick or Treat. It is my biggest project, but it's also the project that I have most fun with stitching. So I'm going to do that. And I know there's always the danger that, am I going to get sick of it? Am I get bored with it? But I am stitching other things in between. I'm working on a couple of different projects a day, so I shouldn't really get fed up with something, because I'm only stitching it for that time in the day, and I've got other things. So we'll see how it goes. If I don't spend all the time on it, it just might be nice just to spend a few months on it and then look at it after a few months and decide, no, I want to work on something different for a bit. That's fine, it's my stitching. I do what I want. What I do want to get away from is, I want to stitch this new start for some really random and obscure reason, and not at all the fact that everyone else is stitching it and I don't want to miss out. I'm going to get away from that. I need to. I love what I stitch, and I want to love stitching and keep enjoying my stitching. And I know that having so many projects going, you started me, please put some more stitches in, it doesn't make me happy. So that's my that's my plans. And yeah, I'll try and tag on a bit of where I am at the moment on Faces of Fairy at the end of this. But if I forget, if I just go straight in and do that update and then stitch with me, just watch the first 5-10 minutes just to see the update if you're not interested in the stitch with me. But I hope that makes sense to everyone. I am by no means telling anyone the way they should stitch, apart from just stitch the way that makes you happy. It is only ever about your own happiness. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully you have a great July and lots of stitching time. Please find time to stitch. It really is good for your mental health. And thank you for all your comments, your likes, subscribing, whatever. I've been watching so many planner videos because I like to plan and journal, and journaling about my cross stitching as well. That's another hobby. So I've been watching loads of those, like smash that subscribe button, smash the like button, yeah, whatever. If you want to, you know where the buttons are. Hit them, pop in the comments, say hello. I do try to reply. Sometimes I don't keep up with it. It is really only just because I'm either busy at work or busy sewing. And I'd rather be busy sewing anyway. I'd rather be busy sewing than busy at work. But until I retire or win the lottery and can retire, that's not happening. So, love to you all. Stay happy. Enjoy what you do. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye. I remembered to record the second update. This is Faces of Fairy. And I have stitched on her because we're now on the 3rd of July, so I spent 2 days already. I finished off the second eye, which was full of switching colours. That's how you get it so good. And then I've come across, I'm working on this 10 row block now, coming down to use up the thread, or until there's a big gap. So I've nearly finished the first page, just a tiny bit here to do, but it'll go into this sleeve. So should have first 3 pages finished soon. And this is the one that I'm going to focus on. So I've got Stitch Pal open beside me. Sirens going past. And it's a busy Saturday. I started her on the 31st of December 2019, and I've been working away at her here and there. And so my average stitches a day, worked out from that very first day, is a terrible 35 stitches a day. So if I had stitched on her every day from when I started her, I've only done 35 stitches on each of those days. Average, that's the average. So if I look at it, if I continue with that pace, she wouldn't be finished until February 2023. She shouldn't take that long. She's not that big. So it also tells you in active days. So there's elapsed days, which is the even averaging out the stitches across the days when you haven't actually been stitching, which is more accurate when you do switch around a lot because you can't stitch on everything all the time. But if I just work out the averages based on when I actually stitched on it, that's interesting. We're at 452 stitches average when I get it out, and now it's gone back to saying that I would finish it on the 17th of August 2021. So we seem to be flipping between the 16th and the 17th. This average will most likely change as I stitch on it throughout the month, because I'm going to be working on it more, and I don't know, 452 stitches, definitely at weekend I'll get more than that done, and some evenings as well. I'm probably hitting about that, so we're near enough there. So when I looked at that, I thought, I'm going to see how kind of accurate its estimation is, how close to its estimation it gets. So this date, I believe, will keep changing, because I'm going to be stitching on it more, and there'll be more stitches. So I would say that average is going to go up a little bit more, which will bring the finishing time in. But that said, I'm going to spend 7 days on Moth at the end of the month, which will kind of do another gap. So I still think that I can get this done by the end of August. It would be good if it was about the same day that we expect, but as we get through to August, then we'll see. So here we have it, a little experiment to see, can I get that average up more? The thing with just focusing on just a couple of projects, not keep switching, is that it's not just about spending more time on this, it's about getting used to what the colours are, getting used to, because I have all my needles pre-threaded, because I put my colours onto a thread organiser, it's knowing where they are. So Pattern Keeper speeds things up a bit, because you don't have to look up the symbol. You pick what symbol you want to stitch, and it actually tells you either to the side, if you have it up at the side, the thread list up at the side, or in the top corner, what colour that is and what symbol that is, so you can just go straight to it. You don't have to do that second lookup. And I think that's what people find speeds them up probably the most. You're not always having to do that cross-referencing. And when you just focus on one project, you get used to where those numbers are, where those colours are in your needle holder, in your thread organiser, in your ring of threads. You know where it is, you can go straight to it. And all that is little bits and pieces of extra time, and it's just becoming familiar with the pattern, knowing where things are, going straight to it, and that just makes you just that little bit faster. So we'll see at the end of July where I am, and we'll see. I'll be doing Stitch With Me throughout this, so probably in one of the updates at the start of August, I'll just probably go through where Stitch Pal thinks I am, and when it thinks I'm going to be finished. So, I hope you enjoyed my explanation of the thought processes that have led me to rotating my work this way, focusing, and I'll do a Stitch With Me later, which should be up in the next few days. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.